Welcome back. It's still the morning brief right here on Channels Television. Let's look at the headlines from the dailies. And joining us this morning is Dr. Ambrose Igboke. He is the Chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Enugu State Chapter. Dr. Igboke, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, all of you in the studio. You're all looking fresh. You don't look like people in Tinubu's government.
Leave our president
Well, Dr. Igboke, I'd rather not say anything to that so that Nigerians don't come for us here. But let's begin with this Nigeria newspaper this morning. It has an interesting topic that borders on a potpourri of issues. Ranching, we won't surrender land by force. And there are just a few, one rider there. Southern Middle Belt leaders canvass transparency, community consent. Why do you think it's taking the country so long to define a clear path for this particular issue that should resolve once and for all farmer-herder clashes?
Well, I think the Nigerian...
Oh dear, this is an unusual, one with Dr. Igboke. We usually have a smooth sail conversation. We hope that he's able to return as soon as possible such that we can continue the conversation. But again, at this point, perhaps we'll recall the report presented by that committee mandated by, I believe, the immediate last administration to define a path for ranching in order to solve the problem of, cattle, farmer-herder clashes. That committee headed by a former INEC chairman, Dr. Professor Atahiru Jega, which recommended, that, Nigeria was not ready for ranching at that particular point in time. But here we are with, the consequences still in our face, especially when you look at states like Benue, like Taraba, sometimes like Adamawa, sometimes where we have villages overrun by conflict, overrun by sectarian violence, and more often than not, some of the issues have to do with conflict, disagreement, and complaints by farmers, particularly that herders, walk into their farms, attack, destroy their crops and all of that. And sometimes, this degenerates into greater issues, where there are reprisal attacks and cattle is rustled. Even in recent times, in Edo State, yes, we recall not too long from now where there were serious, conflict, and it resulted in mob violence for which the Edo State government had an issue on its hands. But prior to that time, we had heard about violence in some areas of the state where they talked about their women being raped, their farms being overrun. And so the issues, particularly of security and the consequent happenings, remain in our faces time and again, and as well, security concerns are there as well as consequences. But Dr. Igboke, I believe you are back now. Dr. Ambrose Igboke, are you back with us now? All right. Perhaps we'll go to another paper this morning.
I just take some of the other writers on this Nigeria as well.
All right. There are other stories on this Nigeria, and above there that is related to ranching, just beside the nameplate, we see food security. Stakeholders urge federal government, states to strengthen agro-business. And the safety of farmers, national security is right at the heart of that particular one as well. When farmers are able to, go to the farms, and through all the planting season, have some form of stability in their businesses, and of course they're able to be connected to ready markets, then we'll perhaps be moving a step further in strengthening food security and getting more persons out of poverty. But right at the heart of that is the challenge of security for farmers, ranching also being there. And farmers are saying that they won't surrender their land by force. And I believe, Jeffrey and Kelly, that the Land Use Act is also at the heart of this particular subject, because the availability of land also, has impact on space for ranching for those who are deep into the cattle business. And by the way, a lot of politically exposed persons, or if you like, members of the elite, are also those who are involved in cattle business as well. Beyond what we see of, our nomadic brothers from the north pushing this cattle here and there in many states of the Federation, we know that there are investors behind them who are powering the businesses. Yeah. Guys.
I mean, even here in Lagos, there are times that I've had calls to be driving and you're coming to work and you have to stop and wait for cows to pass.
Even in Abuja.
Even in Abuja.
Yeah, that's the only thing wicked power did not get.
So I think I know there's this argument and pushback from some. I remember Sheikh Gumi in a video some years back was saying that, these headers have they've had their route or path, and then came civilization, then came people building and development, and then the path they used to follow to go around Nigeria was tampered with. That was the argument.
Grazing routes.
Or the grazing routes.
Yeah.
That's how and that was that. And that's the argument for them that, these people have their grazing routes. And for many years, they use those pathways, to graze and on for their business and all of that. So, and then some people were wondering, because you have a grazing route in somebody's territory and land, how does that work? If I even saying that we should even develop, develop our areas and all of that. So there's that pushback, and arguments from their end. But I think what the middle, let's switch to Nigerian Tribune because it stays with this particular story as well. Southern Middle Belt leaders to FG drop proposed ranching scheme for FCT, Plateau, 4 other states, demand full disclosure of ranching sites and legal instruments, seek answers on size of land, ownership structure, funding sources, and then one of consequences of seizing community lands. I think there's how perhaps the federal government is going about this that may not sit down well with some of these people who have this landed properties. But I understand Dr. Boke is back. Dr. Boke, perhaps you can just get to comment on, these stories that have been raised, issues around ranching and the pushback from the Middle Belt and the Southern region.
Okay, I'm sorry, that was glitch. As I said earlier that ranching is a private business. I don't know why over the years it has been politicized and it has been made to be an issue that looks as if people must give up their land for some certain private individuals to do their business. If we are not giving it, for example, if the person who is selling car or the person who is selling commodities or selling other things is not forcing people to give up their own land for them to do private business, why is the federal government always hell-bent on trying to make sure that people give up their land for other people to do their private business? All over the world, we should go buy some parcel of land. If somebody wants to build a university, the person buys land. Buys serious acres of land, sometimes up to 100 acres to build university. If people want to build institutions, they do the same thing. Why is it that a private businessman who wants to, ranch his cow, the federal government will want to take land from people? And I think Nigeria should resist this by all means. Buhari tried it with his Ruga policy. He wanted to bring Ruga, and the people resisted it. And I think people should resist this Tinubu's government also trying to give people, take people's land and give it to other people to do private business in the name of ranching or whatever. If there's ranching, then there is the community that should sell the land to the people. So please, the federal government should not heat up the polity again by introducing this thing. During Buhari's time, Ruga caused a lot of tension in the country. We heard about people trying to get people's land by federal government so that they can take over their land and they can, those kind of things. We don't need them now. Nigeria has been peaceful. Let's allow it to be peaceful. Private business, ranching is a private business. The cattle rearers should go and the cattle owners should go, negotiate with communities, buy land, and ranch their cows. Cows should not be allowed to be roving up and down all over the place in the 21st century. So the federal government, please, let's be careful not to, destroy the fragile peace we are having.
You know, Dr. Igboke, this is about economic survival. But you raise a very valid point that if it's a business, let's narrow it down. Maybe federal government, I don't know what the plan, because I'm seeing that headline that Kelly read. It says, demand full disclosure of ranching sites, legal instrument. So basically they want to be clear, because there's a history to this thing, and it has always resulted in one issue or the other because of civilization and modernization. So maybe there is a lack of clarity that is causing this. Is the government also going to be paying for this land? Are the businessmen who own this cattle and this herd, are they going to be paying for it? So it's a lot of things. But as you said, we have a bit of stability. We can't tamper with it. Let's go to the Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard, there are two stories I would like you to speak to. NFF president, other board members resign, you know, with the poor outing of our girls after missing out since they've been on that, we won that tournament for, I think, 10 times. And this is the first time since 1990 or 1991 when we will not be going to the World Cup. And then other issues around the Super Eagles as well. And there's been pressure, investigations about some mismanagement of funds I would like you to speak to as well. And then just above the nameplate, just in blue, you see a story that has a FG records 2.1 trillion naira fiscal deficit in Q3 2025. Those two stories.
For the NFF, the Nigerian Football Federation, we used to be NFA, Nigerian Football Association. They are now changing to Nigerian Football Federation. The christening of the name did not change. In fact, it was better when it was NFA. There's something that happened to it when it changed to NFF. Their seriousness in the management of football in Nigeria became worrisome, became like a diabetic soul that refused to go. All these things happened. Remember Mr. Amos Adamu? I don't know if you remember. And the FIFA corruption case against him from the same, from the same NFA at that time. Nigerian football is one of the biggest exports of Nigeria in international, in the global, market. Imagine countries like Brazil, Argentina, and some other serious countries. They export football. They go to negotiate. They are in negotiation, are involved in selling players. Our own football federation are not even serious. Where is the ground? Where are the academies? NFA does not, as a body, does not even have an academy. NFF does not have an academy where young people are groomed. NFF could not even organize a simple football competition. What happened to the football competitions in secondary schools? What happened to the Nougat games? Nougat games that used to be very serious, where we hunt talent. Where are the academies? They just sit there, they bring money, I don't know what they do with the money, and then they get money from FIFA, they get money from the Nigerian government, they get sponsorship deals, and at the end of the day, our football, look at our local league. Our local league is a joke. It's a big joke. Look at leagues in South Africa, small countries here, doing very well. So I think the NFF should be reorganized. The NFF should... the EFCC and ICPC should enter that place to do some forensic auditing to see what is really happening there. And then anybody found culpable should go for it. I think what has happened over the years is that just like any other state in Nigeria, there are no punishment for infractions. So people get away with all kinds of inanities and then move away and then nothing happens. So we have to investigate that. When we talk about the budget, well, I don't know which of the budget. We don't even know the budget we are operating now. We don't know. I don't even know the budget we are operating. Whether it's the 2026 budget or 2025 budget or 2024 budget. We don't know the budget we are operating. So when the government is saying deficit on 2025 budget, the truth is that I don't even believe in any figures the government is releasing anymore. And most Nigerians don't.
Dr. Igboke, your questions this morning remind me rather of one of our beloved singers who sang and gave us a timeless line some years ago. If you ask me, now who I go ask? Let's go to another one, and I'm asking you this one this morning, Dr. Igboke. Staying with the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, under the big picture we see here, despite falling crude price, Petrol hits 1,212 naira per liter. And there's some riders here that provide insight. Boni Light drops from $94 to $90. Depot price hits 1,735 naira per liter. Perhaps we're still enjoying 1,200 naira per liter. Perhaps what this means is that petrol price is going to increase, but that is in Port Harcourt from the rider. 12 depots increase prices. Dangote Refinery determines market price. That's ascribed to experts. Dangote Refinery expresses concern over importation. What is happening, Dr. Ebuke?
I feel embarrassed as a Nigerian and feel ashamed when we talk about how international market price is making Nigerians pay more. I remember I think 1991 Gulf crisis, where Nigeria made a windfall. It was alleged that Nigeria made a windfall of $12 billion, and we're jubilating that time because at that time I think our refineries were still functioning. We are supposed to be happy, just like other OPEC nations or oil-producing nations are happy because we are selling more. The benchmarks, the projections for the year, we are suddenly selling more. We are supposed to be happy. The prices are supposed to be reducing. We are supposed to be funding deficit. We are supposed to be funding our loans because we are having excess. But what do we have now? We are crying. The prices of products increase in the international market. We are supposed to be jubilating. We are crying because successive governments have refused to do what they are supposed to do. We are not refining locally. And it's still a big embarrassment when we face our, international partners or friends that you have, foreign friends, and they keep asking you, how come that you are not refining oil? So the very idea of basing your cost of oil in international market or the prices of international market is an aberration. And that is because this government, instead of focusing on allowing the refineries to work, the first thing it did was to remove the subsidy. That was their own fault. They removed it and put Nigeria into all this problem. They are quick to increase the price of petroleum when the prices increase, but when prices decrease internationally, they will not affect it locally. And this is the contradiction, economic contradictions we find ourselves. This is the paradox that we find ourselves in the 21st century, and that is why we have lost all our respect in the international community.
Mr. Ebuke, we operate a free market, so for the records, maybe the government is not responsible. It's a free market. According to Section 205, retail and wholesale is based on the demand and supply in the market. So it's now to look at the players in the sector. So why is the price not going down when crude price is going down? Because that is perhaps the biggest cost component of the pricing of PMS and the derivatives from the hydrocarbon called crude oil. But let's go to the Guardian newspaper, something different but important. Design flaws in new roads. Public facilities leave persons with disabilities stranded. That's a page 6 read. So you can see the Guardian always doing the woman's job. The legal mandate has expired and so many things they did there. Accessibility for PWDs, quite a challenge, both in accessing buildings, in accessing facility. What do you make of these stories?
I think some time ago, there was some years back, and there was this, I think there was a law that talked about that we start incorporating in building codes ramps, especially in public buildings like hospitals and the rest. You start putting ramps in so that to allow people with disability to access it, especially those who whose physical issues affect them from climbing. Even for for people who are sick, you go to hospitals, big hospitals, public institutions like hospitals where sick people are brought in. You still find out that they don't have ramps, especially in the private hospitals, even many government hospitals. You construct a three floor building without ramp, and you expect sick people to climb it. You expect people with disability to be brought in. No ramps, And the government, there are some people who are in charge of, approving building plans and the rest. Who is approving that kind of building plan? Why has nobody been arrested? Why are people still flout these codes with impunity and nothing happened? There are no consequences. Go to Abuja, go to Lagos, go to Port Harcourt, go to all the cities in Nigeria. You find that buildings are, coming up every day without any, any caution or any inclusion for people with disability. I was so overjoyed last week. I was watching a video where I saw Mr. Alex Oti's, electric buses, where they were demonstrating somebody with disability couldn't move with his legs, and we found out that the buses had ramps, that could come up, elevate, come down, and then bring down the person, and the person moves away. These are the kind of ingenuity we want into our own systems. Sometimes I wonder, even when you go to a city like Lagos, where you need to run after buses and the rest of it, even the so-called BRT buses have no provision for people with disability. Government buildings, ministries, you go to ministries, parastatal and agencies, they don't have this kind of thing. So if government has failed to put ramps in their own places, then what happens to to private developers? So they follow the examples of government, where we are not sticking to the building code. Then let's not even talk about 4 or 5 story buildings that have no lifts. Even some that have lifts, there's no power to make sure the lift works. This country, we have a bundle of contradiction.
All right, Dr. Bouquet, maybe one final paper before we let you go this morning, and we'll switch gears to Daily Trust. Leads with a debate that is on the mind of many Nigerians. It leads with what is on the mind of many Nigerians. Yeah, so it says subsidy, presidency's 19 trillion naira claim triggers debate. But at the top right as well, the presidential candidate, I think, of the Accord Party is saying that 605 naira per litre is our starting sustainable price for petrol. Is that a possibility, Dr. Bouquet?
Well, I don't know what you mean by a possibility. We are supposed to buy fuel at not more than 160 naira or 200 naira. We are not supposed to be buying fuel beyond 200 naira in this country. So when somebody tells me it's a starting price, I said, well, we are not still talking a lot of sense, economic sense, in terms of the realities of who we are. Who we are as a people is that we are not supposed to be buying fuel more than 200 naira. So the government is treating the symptoms and not the cause of the disease. The cause of the disease is that we are not refining petroleum products locally. So provide the refineries and the prices will crash. We were talking earlier about the dynamics of demand and supply marketing, where marketers are supposed not to buy products from Malta, from different countries of the world. They're supposed to go to Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna to buy their products. They are not supposed to be engaged in forex in buying their products. So the problem squarely lies with the government and not the marketers. So when the marketers buy cheaply from Port Harcourt, they will sell cheaply. But the problem is that the federal government have failed to make sure that we produce locally. So when marketers come or government officials come and say that you took fuel price to 1,300 and you want to bring it back to 500 naira and you want us to be happy. Happy for what? We need to build our refineries and make them work so that we can buy fuel, petrol for not more than 200 naira. And that is when only you can say that happens. And then for the federal government talking about subsidy and all those claims and no claims, the federal government has not been sincere with the numbers it brings out about subsidy. Later they say subsidy is gone. Later we heard they're paying something in form of subsidy. Later they say there's all kinds of corruption in subsidy. The federal government knows those who are committing a crime or corruption in subsidy, but they have refused to go after them. So they transfer the pains of failure to the citizen. And this is not fair on the citizens, because you and I are not the people who are committing this scam. We and I are not the people who are gaining from it. And so they keep going around because maybe they are powerful people that cannot be touched. Who knows? But again, we cannot pretend that all is okay. We are the only OPEC nation that is producing petroleum and importing refined products. That shows in itself that we are in serious aberration and we need to correct that. All these palliatives, all these statements are just cosmetic solutions that are treating symptoms but not addressing the cancerous cause of where we are.
You know, Dr. Igboke, it makes me wonder, you know, who actually the Petroleum Industry Act is favoring. Is it the IOCs? Is it the refineries, the domestic refineries? Or is it Nigerians? And, you know, the neighboring product as well, which would be gas. Nigerians are buying for between 15 and 17,000 naira per for 12.5 kilograms. Don't answer that one. It's for you to reflect on, and subsequently when you join us, perhaps we'll have an opportunity to weigh in on that as well. But must thank you so much for coming on the program. Dr. Ambrose Igboke is the chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Nigeria, Enugu State Chapter. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me on the show.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, we have quite a lot for you, starting with, you know, reflections on the findings of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission from its investigation into the fake agency scandal. There are quite a number of revelations coming through there, and we have our guest on standby. Mr. Omar Sani joins us after this break. We'll be right back.